What's up, y'all? This is Jack with 115 Gaming. I'm happy to be making my first appearance on the channel, as up until now I've been primarily helping write scripts and such, but hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Today's video is going to mark the start of a mini-series, where we will be breaking down each and every operator. In the interest of not making 10-hour-long videos that no one has the time to watch, we will be analyzing 3 operators per video. At this point, Mythic Games has released the finalized versions of the base game operators on tabletop simulators. So the first 5 to 6 videos of this series will be going over those operators specifically, none of the expansion operators. We also want to stress before we begin that this isn't a tier list of any sort. Each match of 6 Siege is so radically different from other matches that once you add more operators and maps into this mix upon the final release of the game, there's just no way for anyone to say, well, this operator always sucks, or this operator is a must pick. We here at 115 Gaming will give our opinions on operators, but the purpose of the series is not to tell you who's the best and who's the worst. It's to give you an idea of what each operator does and what situations they can be used in, so that you may better strategize and win games of 6 Siege. Each operator will be broken down in the same way. First, we'll talk about their weapon, then about their ability, then weight class, and finally, we'll give our general thoughts on the operator and ways we recommend using them. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the attackers, we have Sledge, possibly the most iconic Rainbow Six character. First, let's take a look at his weapon. We can see that he has great short-range attack, a decent mid-range attack, and a little bit of long-range fall-off, but overall, it's a pretty good weapon. Always remember that just because you aren't rolling red dice in an attack, it doesn't necessarily mean the attack is weak. Anytime 4 dice are being rolled, there is still a huge potential for a kill. Moving on to Sledge's ability, the Tactical Breaching Hammer. His ability is a lot of fun, so let's break it down. It's a 3-charge action, deployable, ignoring a maximum of 1 light wall or barricade, performing an orange destroy action in the targeted space, then placing your miniature in it. After that, you may then perform a shoot and or orange destroy action in 1 space adjacent to your new position. So before we really analyze this ability, there's a couple things I want to note about it. First of all, you ignore 1 barricade or light wall for your deployable action. Then, you must move upon using the action. You cannot stay in place after using it, and your shoot action must target an adjacent space. It doesn't mean you move to an adjacent space, then take a shoot action. You must be shooting at an enemy operator that is adjacent to you. I think Sledge has a really decent ability with plenty of utility on the map. Getting 2 orange level destroy actions for the price of 1, and if you're in the situation where you can use his second action to instead shoot an opponent, that's even better, especially with his great close range weapon. Also important to note that all of his ability counts as a single action, so your opponent can't riposte you until you fully finish the ability. This is incredibly important when it comes to assaulting overwatching defenders that are dug in very well. He gets 3 uses with his hammer, though I don't see you using all 3 in a single game, but it's nice to have that redundancy. Additionally, a great thing about his ability is that it's not electronic and can't be jammed, which makes him a great operator for getting around mutes jammers. Finally, let's take a look at Sledge's weight class, which we classify as medium. In 6 Siege, we here at 115 classify the operators into their 3 different possible weight classes as light, 5 sprint, 4 health, medium, 2 sprint, 5 health, and heavy, 6 health, no sprint. Personally, I find medium to be the worst middle ground of the 3, but that's just my opinion. So now let's talk a little bit more about Sledge overall. We recommend using Sledge for those scenarios where the defending operators are just dug in behind hard walls at an angle you can't get to without getting adjacent. His ability allows you to open up walls and kill enemy operators before they can riposte, clearing the way for the rest of your team.
So Sledge is going to move forward. He's going to take his Tactical Breaching Hammer.
Okay.
So he destroys this first.
Yep.
And then as all 1 action, he moves here and shoots castle, which is a decoy. All right, fair enough. I kind of thought that would be the case. He's going to go 1, 2, 3. He'll use his action here. I'll go ahead and pause the timer because it's going to bust through the wall, move through, and then shoot smoke.
Yeah.
So he gets 2 reds, an orange, and a yellow.
I should have kept Castle where he was. I was looking at this thing right here. You fainted me, bro. You fainted me.
Yeah, he's dead. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10.
Just be careful that you don't overextend Sledge's position when doing this. It's very easy to see an enemy, bust through the wall, shoot them, and then at the last minute realize that you've been flanked on both sides by overextending your position. Either always have one of your teammates backing you up, or save your last action to quickly overwatch before your opponent can trade kills with you.
Right.
Dude.
I'm gonna shoot Sledge.
Dang. Wow. Yeah, that's a good move. I did not see that coming.
I mean, it's my best shot.
Yeah.
Honestly. All right, I rolled 6.
Yeah, he's dead. He gone.
Overall, Sledge is a great, well-rounded operator. He fits nicely into pretty much any team composition as a fragger, soft breacher hybrid. He doesn't really have any glaring weaknesses. Sledge could be great for spearheading a push or providing a distraction that your opponent absolutely has to deal with. His ability gives him some great map mobility, and he always has options. Just remember to be careful of overextending yourself and not letting yourself get flanked. Thatcher is the other SAS attacker and the go-to gadget removal operator, so let's talk about him. Starting off with Thatcher's weapon, he really has a top-tier gun. Rarely do engagements take place over 7+ tiles, especially in the base game map. So the fact that his weapon has some fall off at 7+ range isn't a huge idea, and especially if you're deploying your attacking operators correctly in the type of engagements you want, you don't really have to worry about anything over 7 tiles away. Short to medium range, you have an excellent chance to kill as Thatcher, even if your opponent is in cover. Moving on to Thatcher's iconic ability, his EMP grenades. It's very straightforward. You have 2 throwable EMPs that destroy all yellow electronics in the room. It's very simple and very useful. This ability will come into play every single game. Even just using it to clear a single camera out of a room without being located can sometimes be well worth the charge. Thatcher is a medium weight class with a yellow destroy action, so pretty standard fare as far as attackers go. So let's talk about some Thatcher strategies. Thatcher is really great for clearing out rooms that have multiple electronics in them, such as cameras or mute jammers. Position him to throw an EMP through a window or a doorway, or even an upstairs access panel. If the entryway is not reinforced in sight, take him upstairs and throw that EMP downstairs to take out multiple opponent electronics where they can't riposte you.
Right now. Okay, firstly, I think I'm going to activate Thatcher, and I am going to do the destroy action on this window. And then I am going to use... Oh, I didn't put cubes on his thing, but I'm going to use one of his EMPs in this room to destroy this camera.
Alright.
Make sure to always try and use his ability before he gets taken out, especially if he's your only gadget remover. If he's your only gadget remover, don't overextend his position ever, because then you lose the ability to clear gadgets before the game's ever really even begun. Be conservative with him in the early game in order to capitalize on his 2 charges. Once his utility is used, Thatcher's weapon can be used to exert map control by overwatching lines of sight to keep the defender at bay. Thatcher is a great pick for most team compositions, as he is an excellent utility removal, but can also work as a hybrid fragger. Just make sure to not really use him too much to spearhead any attacks early game, as you don't want to put him in enemy lines of fire, because his ability cannot be used once he's dead. Overall, I think he's a great operator that you should never feel bad about taking. And the final operator in this video, Thermite. Thermite's weapon is great at all 3 ranges. This works really well for Thermite as an operator, as he's usually spearheading a charge or at the front of a breach due to his ability, which is exothermic charges. It's a 2-charge action, a deployable. Perform the red destroy action in a targeted space and spaces adjacent to it. Partitions do not block the area of effect of an exothermic charge. His ability is nice, but not necessarily amazing. Basically, you get 2 free hard breaching charges that only Thermite can use. Now, granted, that's 2 breaching charges you don't have to take in your tactical inventory, but they're also dependent on Thermite being everywhere that you want to breach. It's definitely not a bad ability, but sometimes you might consider that it's better to take 1 or 2 breach charges that all of your operators will have the ability to use. His gadget has the added effect of destroying everything adjacent, which is a nice touch, but not always a reason to insta-pick him every game, especially considering smart defenders will not stack a bunch of gadgets and next to a hardened wall in adjacent squares, knowing that you've picked Thermite. Thermite. His weight class is medium weight, though he does have an orange destroy action, which is always nice for an attacker to have. Talking about strategies of Thermite, we like to use him to blow reinforced hatchways in the early game, saving your breaching charges for the rest of your team to use in a pinch around the main floor when needed. Opening up reinforced hatchways early ensures the defender has to put extra effort into watching every possible angle you can enter from, giving you the advantage. Being in the upper floor allows Thermite to be relatively safe while using his ability, so he can't be picked off too early in the game.
Turn, and then I'm going to move Thermite 1-2 up into the stairs. Use one of his charges to blow this hatch.
Very nice.
Of course, this obviously isn't the only way to use Thermite, and he's one of the most versatile operators as long as you can find ways to use him. As with Thatcher, however you decide to use him, you need to play him conservatively in the early game so that he doesn't die before he can use his abilities. Thermite, I think we would classify as a situational pick. He works well as a hard breacher and occasionally as a fragger, but he can really be hampered by the fact that he has to be everywhere at once to blow up those red walls. It's not a throwable, it's not a line of sight action, it's just deployable. If you really need to take extra throwables in lieu of breaching charges, then Thermite is the way to go. Otherwise, you might want to consider operators that synergize with the rest of your team better. Well, that's it for this first video breaking down the operators, guys. Here at 115 Gaming, I'd just like to extend a thank you for all of you watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and keep an eye out for our next video.